well, some might think it's a reboot, but it's actually more like a sequel. It's like more like a sequel to the original. So like well, I think the original was 80s, the second one I think was 90s. Leslie Nielsen,
89 and 91.
yeah.
I think it was like every 2 years.
Yeah, it was something like that. I think the second one was, and then the Naked Gun 33 and the third was definitely in the middle of the 90s. I definitely remember that when that came out. And these were spoof, silly kind of like thing. They came from a TV show called Police Squad, which only had 6 episodes, but it was extremely silly comedy, extremely out there, sight gags galore, dumb talk. It's like, if you think it was made by the same people who made Airplane. So if you think about Airplane and you think about all the wordplay that happens in Airplane, Naked Gun was like almost going back to that world to go to that. And these films, for me, they're beloved because the first one I ever saw was Naked Gun 2.5. I saw that film and I remember watching this and going, "Oh my god, this is what comedy should be. Every film that's supposed to make you laugh should be made like this." And I know that Sean, you had a totally different approach or reaction when you saw the original Naked Guns.
Did, yeah, yeah, yeah. I find it really, really difficult. I know probably call me a grumpy old man, or I would have been a grumpy getting middle-aged man then, I suppose, when they were out. But
Yeah,
I mean, I just find them too ridiculous for words. You know what I mean? Slapsticky. It's just, you know me and how sort of, you know, how funny I am with that. I just cannot do these. I just find them so absolutely ludicrous that, I mean, slapstick stuff. Maybe I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. It doesn't
yeah.
work.
The thing is, I can totally understand why this would not be everybody's cup of tea because it is like they've turned the silly up to the max. They've turned the silly and the absurdity and everything like that up to the max, and you're either with it or you're not with it. For instance, I was totally with this. This was my
Mm,
bag. When I saw 2.5, which still has a special place in my heart. I know people say the first Naked Gun is the best, but for me, 2.5 is just like mwah. It has just some great silly things. When I saw that film, I felt understood. I felt like somebody actually understood me. How about you, Happy John? What do you think when you first saw it?
Um, I loved them. I can't remember if I saw Airplane before I saw the Naked Gun films. I don't think I did.
Yeah,
I do
I know
remember
I didn't say
seeing,
Airplane before I saw Naked Gun. I saw Naked Gun first. Yeah,
mm.
yeah, I do remember the trailer for the first one was one of the first things I saw on the big screen, actually.
yeah.
Um, no, I loved them. I do love the humor. I don't like most spoof movies because, yeah, they've just been badly made over the years.
They
But
have been,
the
yeah.
original three,
And top
yeah, it
and
was just
top
funny. Just,
and Hot Shots. Yeah,
oh yeah, yeah, those two as
Is
well.
that
They were
Hot
great.
Shots Part Two? Duh. Is that
Hot
part?
Shots
Yeah,
or Hot
that's
Shots, but
the
I
second
think I
one.
think at the height of spoof comedy
Mm.
is the Naked Gun movies and Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part Two. That is the height. Then there's a whole bunch of different things that came along that didn't quite that kind of ruined the idea of the spoof movie. Essentially, any movie that ended up with something movie like scary movie,
Scary
superhero
movie. It was
movie.
that, and it started on from there. It
It
was
just
just
started. Yeah, it was just rubbish.
yeah.
But okay,
But
okay, but anyway, I've done this. We've been talking for about. I've almost run out of my 5 minutes to talk about this film, and I haven't actually spoken about this film. So, so this film has Liam Neeson in it, and you bring Liam Neeson in, and the reason why this is like a sequel is because he's not just playing Frank Drebin; he's playing Frank Drebin Jr. So he's playing the son of the Leslie Nielsen character from the first 3 movies, and the whole and it kind of and the original one was making fun of all these sort of like I think almost 1960s TV shows, like like your what's that one, Peter Gunn and stuff like that. There was one that had Burt Reynolds in it, Dan August. It was making fun of those sort of things, everything, even down to like the freeze frame at the end and everything, and how the and this tries to update it a bit and sort of like add in some little other cop cliches that have come in from the while. If you are a fan of the original Naked Gun, there will be stuff here that you will like. I will go out and I would say, obviously, coming for trying to make something like this that has the same name as a very very beloved film is a dangerous thing to do because you are going to be compared, and it is not as good or as funny, but there are sections in it where this totally works. It was quite a packed cinema I've seen it in because the cinemas are getting increasingly more and more packed as the weeks go on. I think our cinema is on its way back. And it is the cinema screen I have been in where I've heard the most laughter. Where there were probably about 100 people in there, and people were
Wow.
just laughing their heads off throughout this whole thing. Like different things that happened, some stuff that I feel maybe there were some callbacks to the other ones. There's some jokes that they repeat from the other Naked Gun movies, and I feel like this is best at when it goes and does its own thing. When it does its own thing, when it does stuff that maybe they didn't have the technology to do. There's one particular joke that I cracked up about. It's kind of like, and it has to do with when you have like when nowadays. Sorry, John. That is like the Oscar music that plays. That one tells us that we've been talking for too long and we need to wrap this review up. So you know how it is where they started doing this whole thing in films where you have 48 minutes later on screen, but it's like in a 3D block and everything like that. And they have one particular joke that has to do with the 48 minutes later. And because I think you're going to watch it, John, I am not going to spoil the joke. But that actually, it was unexpected and it cracked me up. I think Liam Neeson, I feel like if you get into the wavelength of what Liam Neeson is doing, you could enjoy the film. And I'm not entirely sure I got onto the wavelength throughout the whole film. I kept thinking, ooh, Leslie Nielsen would have said it that way. Leslie Nielsen would have done it that way. And Leslie Nielsen, because he was just a master of delivering this deadpan dialogue where it looks like he's being serious. He's not winking at the camera, but you're kind of like, is he? And William Neeson does well as not winking at the camera, but sometimes I think he might be a little bit too gruff. But I think Pamela Anderson does her role well. Danny Houston, everybody just plays their role well, and they play on all these sort of the CCH Pounder plays the police chief, and there's a running gag about her husband that I think is actually quite funny. So it's all in all, I really enjoy this. I would give it a 3. I'll give it a 3 out of 5 because I feel like it didn't entirely work, but I feel like if they get a chance to make a sequel, I think they might end up being a little bit more courageous and just doing their own thing without doing any callbacks to the original ones, because there were some jokes that I felt were a callback to the original one. Like, I think it's even a joke in Airplane where somebody's having a fight and then all of a sudden it's like take a ticket as the next henchman comes along and there's like a number. They do that joke and I'm like, I've seen that joke before. So all in all, I thought I was going to give it a 3.
Okay, out of interest, Sharon, what do you reckon on these films?
Well, harking back, I do actually remember Police Squad better than the actual Naked Gun films. Because at one time it used to be on BBC Two. When I would come home from school, we'd watch it. And I thought those were very funny, but they were quite short. I think they were only sort of 25 minutes, 30 minutes long. And so I think it's very, very funny when it's compact. When you stretch it over a couple of hours, for me, the joke wears a bit thin. So I enjoy it in a short burst, that sort of silliness and that. Yeah, but I think it's a bit tighter when it's shorter. So for me, it worked better as a short rather than as a feature. So I probably won't be in a hurry to go and see it.
Although I will say, 84 minutes this film.
Oh, so
fairly short.
Yeah. So 84 minutes. So they understand they understand they need to get in and get out. But even at that length, I do think that the problem you're pointing, Sharon, it would still be effective. It would still be in effect. I think what you're talking about there. All right, cool. So that's 3 stars with Naked Gun. I'm happy it's back. I think it worked way better than it had any right to. This could have been a disaster, and I think it is not a disaster. It's not an unqualified success, but it's not a disaster.